Hello, I'm Michael Lower, and I'm with my colleague Vivian Chen to describe for you the Issues in Property Law elective, which was a course that we ran for third and fourth year undergraduate law students. The course ran for the first time in 2018-2019, starting in January 2019. So I'm going to describe the structure of the course and the philosophy that underpinned it. One of the distinctive features of the course is that students worked in small collaborative groups, and these groups were supported by facilitators, research postgraduate students. Vivian will talk about the work that she did to produce resources about collaboration, and she will also describe her experience of acting as a facilitator and the feedback that she got when she interviewed her co-facilitators. I'll close our presentation by talking about the lessons that we learned from our experience of running the course and how we feel that this design might be adapted to allow for interdisciplinary groups or possibly international groups, and also how it might be adapted for online learning. The course design was underpinned by two important concepts. The first of these is the communities of inquiry pedagogy. This sees education, especially higher education, as being about inquiry and not just learning facts. Ideally, this inquiry has a collaborative element and is carried out in accordance with the criteria for good legal scholarship. Students learn to be researchers by doing research. This pedagogy has a lot in common with problem-based learning. The second key concept is the student as producer metaphor. Neary and Wynne describe this in the words you see on the screen. Undergraduate students working in collaboration with academics to create work of social importance that's full of academic content and value, while at the same time reinvigorating the university beyond the logic of market economics. So students take their place as authentic, active participants in the disciplinary community. This is as it should be. This is what higher education is all about, and it's what students thought they were signing up for in their heart of hearts when they came to the university. The students as producer idea prepares students for the workplace, for life as citizens, and for lifelong learning. So the elective was available for third and fourth year undergraduate law students. 26 students registered for the course in January 2019. The students had to work in small collaborative groups on research projects of their own choice related to the broad theme of property law. The groups could be of between 3 to 5 students. And here's the schedule for the term. In weeks 1 to 3, we met together as the whole cohort, and during that time, the aim was to explain to the students the assessment tasks, what was expected of them, the assessment criteria, and also to set up the groups. Then in weeks 4 to 7, the students worked in their small groups, in their collaborative groups, on the research projects that they'd chosen related to property law, assisted by a facilitator. In week 8, we had a conference where the students gave their presentations. Then later in the week, they submitted the blog post. Then in weeks 9 to 13, students were free to then concentrate on the individual research coursework. Throughout the course, I was available to the students to discuss the research questions, to talk about the ideas for their courseworks, and to give feedback on drafts. So the assessment was like this then. The presentation counted for 15%, the blog post 25%, and the individual research courseworks for 60% of the overall mark. These are the projects that the students chose. 2 groups chose the first topic, looking at the law where industrial units are unlawfully subdivided to be used for residential purposes. And the other topics, one looked at the small house policy in Hong Kong, another group of exchange students compared to the Australian, Chinese and British law on compensation for intangible losses on compulsory acquisition. Another group looked at how the duration of marriage impacts on the order made by the court when couples divorce, how family wealth is divided. And finally, a topic that looked at how Hong Kong's proposed land registration system is going to deal with the rights of squatters acquiring title through adverse possession. So one of the major tasks of the first 3 weeks was to help students to understand what was required of them. I prepared evaluation and feedback sheets for each of the tasks and explained these sheets to the students, explained these criteria to the students. We practiced using the feedback sheet for the blog post by looking at 3 actual blog posts about legal issues on the Australian version of the conversation blog. And then the students used the feedback criteria, the blog feedback criteria, to evaluate those blog posts. Most of the students had already experienced the coursework evaluation feedback sheet because we'd used it already in the 3rd year in Land Law 1 and Land Law 2. I gave written feedback to the students on using these feedback and evaluation sheets. The students got feedback on the group presentation before they submitted the group blog post so that they could use that feedback before they submitted the blog post.
One of the aims of the course was to help students to learn about collaboration for better learning and as a crucial workplace skill. Student learning activities rarely place formal emphasis on collaboration. Few of the assessment tasks that we ask our students to carry out call on students to collaborate, and we wanted to address this in our course. Professor Michael Lower, as the project director, is the main driving force behind this project. And Professor Lower has made a series of videos on the theory of community of inquiry, how to implement it in practice, and an introductory video on the issues in property law course. All these videos made it really easy for students to understand what is expected of them and to help them understand the course structure. Professor Mitchell Stocks, a colleague in the faculty and previously managing partner in the Hong Kong office of a US law firm, produced another video about group dynamics. And I have made a video based on interviews with 7 professionals, 6 of them faculty alumni, about the importance of collaboration in workplace and the personal values that underpin successful collaboration. All these videos are available to the students via Blackboard and are also available to the public through the Learning Matters blog. So as facilitator collaboration is a large part of the course structure. We have recruited 6 research postgraduate students as facilitators, 4 from the Faculty of Law and 2 from government. And I acted as a facilitator myself. Before conducting the facilitating role, we had 2 training sessions, one conducted by Professor Lower and one conducted by Professor Paul Mahak of Osgood Hall Law School in Toronto. The aim of the training sessions was to help the facilitators to understand our role, which was to act as critical friends for each group and as older brothers and sisters for the students, and to keep the groups on track. Our main tasks were to listen to the presentations and to read the blog posts of our respective groups and give feedback. It was interesting to watch how student groups worked. We booked breakout rooms in the library, and each group has its own room. In terms of feedback collected, we have interviewed facilitators and distributed a survey to students who took the course. 4 students completed the survey. The 4 student respondents were positive about the collaborative work in issues. To them, collaboration meant more than just a diverse range of ideas. Student learning clearly seemed to have been enriched by collaboration. One student mentioned that it is a rare opportunity in our LLB studies to collaborate with classmates for our coursework. Others said it gave them more freedom to research. Small groups made it easy to speak without judgment, and everyone could contribute. Another student said it gave them opportunity to interact with other law students. And here's an observation from a facilitator. I'll let you have a read at it. This comment reveals at least the possibility of forming small collaborative groups that structure student work by reference to the procedures of the community of inquiry, of critical collaborative discourse leading to a conclusion. The ideas of peer learning and the group as a collective mind are present. The idea of smaller groups providing an opportunity to interact with other students and making it easier to contribute is a reminder of the effective dimensions of the community of inquiry and the importance of social presence. It hints at the idea that extensive use of the community of inquiry in undergraduate studies could help to counter the sense of isolation and boredom that is a feature of undergraduate life for some students. Responding to a question about the role that facilitators played in student groups, one student commented, "Facilitators guided their discussion, contributed when they thought we were going off topic, gave useful examples for us to use, and challenged our ideas." Another student said that facilitators were very helpful and provided guidance to us. A third student said that the facilitators made sure that we are on track. From the student feedbacks, facilitators were able to achieve the task, which was to help students consciously reflect on the structure of their inquiry process. And if I may add a note from the facilitator interview, one facilitator said that he was inspired by the student group's capability to create presentable and publishable work within the period of just a few weeks. So it was really a mutual beneficial experience. We facilitators also benefited from the issues course. All 4 student respondents thought that they have improved as learners as a result of the issues course. Specifically, respondents mentioned the development of teamwork, research, and presentation skills. One student replied that they were much more confident to write research papers. And this is from a facilitator's side of view. It has improved students' research skills. It has improved their ability to assign tasks and to follow those tasks to a logical conclusion. I think this will go a long way to benefit them when they eventually have jobs in law firms or even have teaching tasks. And now I'll hand over to Professor Lower for the closing session.
Thanks, Vivian. So did the course promote the idea of students as producers? Well, no class time was devoted to the transmission of pre-packaged knowledge. The students were never positioned as consumers of knowledge. Instead, the entire focus was on projects that students had devised for themselves. In one sense, the students produced knowledge as they came to their own understanding of the research questions that they posed and the legal concepts that they found to be relevant when answering those questions. The students were encouraged to think of themselves as contributors to public knowledge through the conference in week 8, and at least in principle, the blog posts were intended to be published. The feedback that I gave to the students on the blog posts and the individual research courseworks were intended to help them to see how they could improve their work to bring it up to a publishable standard. How could the course be developed? All of our meetings were face-to-face, but none of them needed to be. They could all have been conducted using Zoom. So one way of adapting the course would be to go blended, a mix of face-to-face and digital, or even fully online. One could imagine a multidisciplinary version of the course, where law students work together with students from social sciences, geography, or the built environment. One could also imagine CUHK law students working with law students from other jurisdictions. So this slide is just a link to some resources relevant to the course. So we produced some blog posts, and they're on the Learning Matters blog. As Vivian mentioned, we also produced a set of videos. They're also available on the Learning Matters blog. And I also wrote a brief account of this project in the Hertz Connect magazine, and you've got the link there. So thank you, and you've got our email addresses there, and of course we look forward to getting your questions after this presentation. Goodbye for now.